Hello and welcome back to my little corner of the internet where I'm talking about the game I'm making while I'm making the game. If you don't know how you got here, wanna know what game I'm talking about, check out the video in the description. Now for this episode. So combat, the beating heart of every Soulslike game. How does it work in Sorceress? Well, we already established there are two main components. Typical Souls-like close combat and spells. But how do we combine the two in a way that makes sense both thematically and mechanically? Well, to answer that question, we'll start with some... In the world of Sorceress, spells need three components to function properly. The first one is incantation. This is your typical wand swinging, Latin shouting, magic circle drawing. You're telling the universe what flavor of fireball you want to will into existence. The second one is a catalyst, a magic item designed to turn your chosen power source into arcane energy to fuel your spell. And the third and most important one is the power source itself. Now when it comes to the power source, there are three main rules. Anything can be a power source with the right catalyst. Some power sources are more potent than others, meaning you need less to cast a more powerful spell. And the power source influences the nature of the spell and may give it some unique effects. Which brings us to the main character you will be playing as in the game, the Sorceress. Say hello, Sorceress. She is from a group of people who are the dark elf equivalents of this universe, and in their sinister curiosity they found out something interesting. Blood has always been known as a mediocre power source for spells, but if you collect it in the heat of battle with a specifically designed catalyst, it increases in power tenfold. Following this discovery, an order of their mages developed a very aggressive spell sword fighting style that is seen as crazy even among their own ranks. So with the in-universe explanation out of the way, let's explore that concept more mechanically. We'll do this in two parts, what we already have and what is still needed for the prototype. So what moves do we already have? We have a chainable light attack, a dodge, blocking, and casting. Something about that dodge felt wrong. Anyway, light attacks are your basic close combat move. They cost stamina to use, and if you hit an enemy, you will do a small amount of damage and more importantly, fill your blood gauge, which is used to cast spells. Notice that your blood gauge is also filled when you yourself get hit. The dodge is used to avoid enemy attacks, and like most Souls-like dodge moves, makes you invincible on the startup frames, rewarding good timing. Dodges also use stamina. Then there's blocking. Now blocking has its own meter that both the player and enemies have. If you block an attack, this meter decreases. If it hits 0, you are stunned for a short duration. Similar to dodging, if you hit the block button just as an enemy attack is about to hit you, you will perform a deflect. Deflecting enemy attacks will reduce their block meter instead of yours, as well as fill your blood meter. And finally, casting. All spells have, as you know, incantations, or a cast time, that can differ in length depending on the spell. All spells also have different effects on hit or block. Whenever you cast a spell, it consumes all of your current blood meter. How much meter you had when casting a spell will determine its potency. This means you can cast any spell even if you only have 1% meter. It just won't be that strong. The one spell currently in the game, Searing Pain, does high block damage and a bit of health damage when blocked, but on a hit it does a massive amount of health damage and incapacitates your enemy for a while. These effects are even more pronounced if the enemy you hit is already stunned. And all of these effects of course scale with the amount of blood meter you used when casting the spell. So as you can see, this whole system is designed for you to gain blood meter by attacking and defending, as well as breaking the enemy's guards to create openings to use your devastating spells to their most effect. But a few things are still missing. So what else do I want in my gameplay prototype before I give it to you guys to test if all my theories are actually fun in practice? On the one hand, heavy attacks. These should be slower than light attacks as well as chargeable to be very effective against blocking opponents. I also want a fully charged heavy attack to trigger a special animation on a stunned enemy that does massive damage and gives you a lot of blood meter, similar to a riposte in Elden Ring. On the other hand, I want to implement at least 2 more spells. As fun as I think it is to create an opening and then cast a huge spell to deal massive damage, that is not the only playstyle I want to provide. What if you prefer to buff your weapon attacks and let them do the damage? Or cast a smaller spell more frequently instead of waiting for a big spell? I would also like your input on this, so leave me a comment telling me what kind of spell you would like to see in a system like this. Finally, the enemy needs a few more moves and tweaks to its combat AI to truly feel like a boss fight. Oh, and I still need to add some basic audio. Would be weird to play an epic fight and just hear nothing. God, I hate audio. But other than that, I hope you liked our little excursion into the combat mechanics of Sorceress. Thank you for listening and stay tuned for more content surrounding the game, as well as updates on the prototype and its future release.